I feel like everyone wants to know like what the key is to like actually losing weight and they
Hey bestie, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Bestie, like the video because it helps with my algorithm. So in today's video, we'll be talking about how to stay disciplined and consistent during weight loss. Because starting a weight loss journey is exciting, but staying disciplined and consistent, that's where most people fall off. In the beginning, motivation is high. You are pampered to eat clean and move your body. But after weeks, the motivation just fades. So I've put the stitches together so that you watch. I'll be back share my 2 cents.
I feel like everyone wants to know like what the key is to like actually losing weight and they feel like they try so hard and then they end up going back to their old habits and they're like, what can I do to just make everything click, you know? Like what can I do to just make myself lose the weight once and for all and just finally get the body of my dreams? And honestly, in all seriousness, the only thing that you truly need in order to lose weight like and lose it like forever, keep it off forever, finally get in, the grind mode, like get really motivated, is to literally just stay consistent and remember why you're trying to lose the weight in the first place, or remember what you're actually trying to look like in the first place. Because let me tell you something, you can try all you want to stay consistent, or you can try all these different hacks and, oh, let me try walking, let me try the elliptical, let me try the Stairmaster. It doesn't matter what cardio you're doing. What matters is that you're actually staying consistent with it. It literally does not matter what you're doing as long as you just stay consistent long enough. And you might be like, oh, well, how do I stay consistent? How do I stay consistent? Literally get your ass in the gym. Go change your clothes and go to the gym. Go outside and go on that walk. Like when you make food, stop eating so much of it. It's not hard to grasp. It's just difficult to actually do. And that's where a lot of people go wrong, because they're like, how do I stay consistent? It all starts with you and your own actions.
If you really struggle with discipline surrounding nutrition and exercise, this is for you. I used to be this person. I, for like 10 plus years of my life, could never be consistent in the gym, could never be consistent with my food. I could never get the results that I wanted. And so I'm going to explain to you what I did differently and how I was finally able to get to where I wanted to be. So the main reason that you're assuming you lack discipline is because you're setting the goal too high and you're basically setting yourself up for failure. Because when we're like, I'm going to go to the gym 6 days this week, but we haven't been going at all, or I'm not going to eat any chocolate, even though like chocolate is your favorite food, you can see that that is kind of a form of self-sabotage, because deep down, you know, you're not going to do that. You might think you want to do that, but you don't actually want to do that, because that would not make your life better. That would make your life worse. If chocolate's your favorite food and you decide to give it up forever, that's not making your life better. And that is not actually a form of discipline. That's a form of torture, in my opinion. So you have to set the bar lower, not because you're not capable of more. You absolutely are. But if you start expecting this level when you're all the way down here and you haven't got any habits prepared, you're not going to succeed, and you're going to further reaffirm that idea that you just lack discipline and that you're not capable of anything. So when I first started kind of changing my habits for good and actually developing that discipline within myself, I did things like start walking more, not going to the gym 6 days a week. All I did was start making sure that I went for more walks. And I'm talking like 15 minutes in the morning, a 20-minute walk in the morning. And I would track my steps and I would kind of like challenge myself to get to that 10,000. But I was literally just going for more walks. I wasn't doing anything so crazy. Like walking doesn't require a huge amount of fitness. You don't need any equipment. You can just start doing it. So little things rather than big things is where we want to start. Same thing applies to my nutrition. I used to be very all or nothing. I used to be the kind of person that was like, I'm doing low carb on Monday, I'm doing keto, whatever the like fad diet it was. I'm not going to eat any sugar, I'm not going to eat any bread or whatever. But again, I didn't actually want to do any of those things because I love those things, and it's actually not necessary to give them up to get to where you want to be anyway. So what I started doing differently was being like, I can have some chocolate, but I'm going to make sure that I have like a proper meal at dinner, and then I'm going to allow myself a little bit of that. And I'm not going to ban anything. I'm actually just going to prioritize the foods I know I should be eating, and then allow myself a little bit of the things that maybe aren't as good for me physically, but, you know, are good for me mentally. So think of discipline like a muscle that you need to train. You need to start small and build. Instead of setting yourself up to fail, you need to start in a place that you're capable of doing things now. Because if you start with something you can actually do, like instead of cutting all chocolate, you just eat a little bit less, you will start to rewire all of those negative thoughts you have about yourself. You'll start to be like, okay, if I could do that, maybe what else could I do? And you start to do things that you know you can do every day. And this will really change the way you see yourself. You'll start to see yourself as someone who can keep promises to themselves, who can follow through with their goals. And these kind of little changes, they take longer to compound into results, but they have not made your life worse. They've made your life better. So you're going to keep doing them. So really, when it comes to discipline, it's not about being the strictest version of yourself. It's about doing things that you know you can do and keeping promises to yourself in a realistic way. You're setting yourself up to fail by setting that goal too high. So adjust your expectations of what you can achieve in the short term and increase your expectations of what you can achieve in the long term if you stick with smaller changes and not like these unrealistic goals.
I'm one of those girlies that when I'm in a calorie deficit, I'm in a calorie deficit, y'all. Disciplined and consistent. So if you're finding it really difficult to stay consistent and locked in a calorie deficit to actually lose the weight that you want to lose, listen up. These are all my tips. The first one is you need to be prioritizing food choices for volume and protein over satisfaction or cravings. We're always going to be so much happier at the end of the day whenever you leave a meal feeling full and satisfied instead of choosing the pastry at the coffee bar that's going to keep you full for 5 seconds and it's 500 calories. Process of accepting delayed gratification and not giving in the moment gets so much easier over time. If you give yourself the opportunity to feel the high and the endorphins that you get off of following through for yourself and checking off your goals once you do them later, and then you actually feel that feeling, it's going to be so much easier to keep pushing through because you want to feel that feeling again, and that's the gratification you're going to be waiting for rather than just giving into like a temporary craving that you have in the moment that you know isn't going to feel as good as if you wait for your goals. You have got to learn how to be comfortable with pivoting in situations that aren't always going your way if you're planning around stuff. For example, the other day my husband texted me last minute after I'd already had breakfast and a snack and texted me and told me we were going out for his going away party at this really calorically dense pizza place with drinks. Did I have my whole day planned eating at home? Yes, but instead of freaking out, I was like, perfect, got it, pivoted, replanned in exactly what I was going to do in that event. And then because my lunch had to be a little bit lower calorie for me to stay in my deficit compared to whenever I was eating at home and the plan that I had before. Yeah, I had a 250 calorie lunch and I made it work and I made it as high volume and high protein as possible within that so I wasn't starving going into the event. And then I executed and followed through for myself and ordered exactly what I said I was going to order and ordered as many drinks as I said I was going to order and came home and checked off my box for that day. They are not lying to you when they say that you need to prioritize a high volume, high protein breakfast. It's so much easier to be able to execute in a calorie deficit when you're full and satisfied at the beginning of the day and you get your metabolism and you get your body working and your digestion working early. When I front load 50, 60 grams of protein at the beginning of my day, I'm not hungry until 3 p.m. That means it's 110 times easier for me to stay within a deficit because then I'm eating from like 3 to 8 when I go to bed and not thinking about food until 1 and being so famished by the time I get to lunch that I make stupid decisions around food. You need to get comfortable with both portion controlling and high volume, high protein eating at home. Foundation of your routine and what you do most of the time should be at home, whole foods, high protein, maximizing your calories, because that makes the calorie deficit so much easier day to day, but you also have to toggle the switch on in your brain whenever you have events and things that you have to attend where you can't eat as high volume. And you have to realize that that situation is temporary. You're going to get back into your routine where you feel full and satisfied in a deficit, but sometimes there are just days where you're going to be a little bit more hungry than normal. That doesn't mean that it's going to last forever, so keep pushing through and then you're going to get to the point where it doesn't and it's not that hard. Electrolytes are a literal lifesaver. I drink Element electrolytes. They definitely help with suppressing your appetite a little bit and they taste so fire and obviously they keep you hydrated, so I think they're such a win. You need to know yourself and know when it's harder for you to stay consistent and when it's easier for you to push through on things. For example, I know that if I don't block off 100 or so calories for my late night sweet treat when I'm in a calorie deficit, I'm going to go over to get that late night sweet treat most of the time. If I don't block those calories off, I'm setting myself up for failure, whereas if I do block them off and I make sure that I have them, I know I'm going to be successful that day. And I know that, okay, okay, there are times in the day where maybe I feel snacky, maybe I feel hungry, maybe that's like between lunch and dinner, usually around 3 p.m. for me if it does happen. But in my head, I'm telling myself, okay, I can stay consistent and push through this here and make sure that I don't really give in and just kind of ignore it and distract myself. If I know I have something to look forward to with my dinner pre-logged in, with my sweet treat pre-logged in. And that's easier for me to push through in that circumstance. So I'm somebody who can kind of push through the snacky in the afternoon to get to my sweet treat late at night. You might be the opposite. So know yourself and allocate those calories for your budget depending on the time of day where you feel that typically you need them to be more consistent. And the last one is stop accepting less than you can give. If you have a day where you can hit 15K steps, even if your goal is 10, doing that and taking advantage of more movement or more calorie burn is just going to help give you buffer room for when things don't completely go in your control. Like when I couldn't hit my step count 2 weekends ago when I was in Dallas because we were literally driving around the city the entire day and I had no time. That didn't hinder me because I literally had 20,000 steps the day before because I didn't let myself just accept less than I could get. Same thing with food, for example. If I'm kind of going on vacation or if I'm going on like a little weekend trip and I have 2 travel days where I'm not going to be really eating for experience, I will make those days non-negotiable deficit goals because it's like, okay, if I can shape my trip with some really solid days around it, then the other days I'll have a little bit more buffer room. Give and take, and you have to make sacrifices where necessary, and you just have to lock the heck in and get it done, babe. This is the tea on how we're going to make your weight loss journey a lot easier on you. Let's get into things that'll improve your weight loss progress without making your life an absolute living hell. Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm a weight loss coach. These are things and habits that I do on a daily basis that helped me lose 10 pounds recently, but also that I implemented at the beginning of my fitness journey when I lost 30. The first thing we are doing is front loading protein. And what I mean by that is getting like 30 plus, 40 plus grams of protein in your breakfast. This is going to do 2 things. One, it's going to make you feel full and satisfied all the way across the day until lunch so that you don't make bad decisions with food before that. And 2, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to hit your overall protein goal because if we think about it, breakfast is one of the meals that is least likely to get interrupted by something else in your day, like a work meeting, lunch, friends inviting you to dinner, things that are out of the ordinary. Normally breakfast isn't going to get screwed up. Doing that first sets the rest of your day up for success in case other things are thrown off. My 2 favorite ways to do this is hot coffee with my legendary cinnamon protein powder or cold brew with like a pre-made protein shake as the creamer. So like a Core Power or Fairlife protein shake. Pair that with some egg beaters or some Greek yogurt and you're easily on your way to 40 grams of protein. Number 2 is saving the bulk of your calories for times when you know you'll be the hungriest. My appetite is a lot higher at dinner than it is during breakfast or lunch. If you're counting calories and you're in a deficit and you have 1,800 calories, for example, that doesn't mean that breakfast, lunch, and dinner all have to be 600 calories. And I spend the bulk of my calories at the end of the day on my dinner and dessert because that's when I'm the most hungry. But when I'm not hungry in the middle of the day, if I use 600 of my calories on my lunch, cut back from the ones that I'm able to use at dinner, that's a lot harder for me to stay consistent and disciplined on than if I set myself up for success around my own hunger cues. Number 3 is adjusting your calories week to week to your activity level. When you calculate your calorie deficit or you're on a calorie number, a lot of times we tend to think that that's a number we have to eat every day and that it's not adjustable. Your priority should be aligning your calories with your activity level. So if there's a week that comes up where you normally exercise 5 times a week and that's putting you in a calorie deficit, but then the next week you know you're really busy and you only have the opportunity to get 2 sessions in, change your calories and drop them a little bit in alignment with your activity level decrease that week so that you still see progress. Next thing is front loading your steps just like you front load your protein. This has absolutely helped me. Getting up and being able to get like at least 2,000 steps in before I start my day has been a complete game changer. I literally set my alarm like 15 or 20 minutes earlier. I get on my walking pad. You can go walk around your block, walk around your apartment, but if you can get a really good amount of steps in before you start your day, that's just going to set you up for success. Allow you to get the hard things out of the way at the beginning of the day so that you're not worried about them throughout the rest of your day when work, school, other things are more important. Next tip I have that has kept me so freaking consistent and has been a game changer for me is pre-logging your food at the beginning of the day. So when I wake up, I literally take 5 minutes to pre-log in everything that I'm going to have, make it fit into my calories and macros so that I know I have a plan that's easily abidable by. Everything is pre-logged so that I can easily follow it and I know what to do without having to log throughout my entire day. When that decision is pre-made for you and you pre-decide success, it's a lot easier to just snap a finger and say that's what I'm doing because I already pre-decided it than it is to have all of these open calories throughout the day and having the mindset of, okay, I get to choose how to fill these and I get to pick random things to fit into this budget. And you utilize that budget at the beginning of the day, it's just like, okay, it's right in front of me, the plan's there, I'm just gonna follow it instead of making it more complicated on myself. And the last tip I have, try to get your workouts and the majority of them done at the beginning of the week, because if we're realistic, things are way more likely to come up on Friday, Saturday, Sunday to knock you off course, like invites out, engagement parties, baby showers, weddings, whatever it is that you have on that weekend. Even if it's not a plan that you have, something will probably come up, way more likely to come come up on your weekend to cause you to skip the gym. If you make that happen earlier in the week and you already check those boxes off, you don't have to say no, or you don't have to feel guilty because you're missing the gym whenever you want to go experience things or have like fun times that your friends or husband or wife or whatever is inviting you to. The main majority of this whole message is set yourself up for success at the beginning of your day, the beginning of your week, so that things come around that could hinder your plans, you've already checked those boxes and they're already done. I hope this helps. And of course, if you're a woman who's really struggling to lose weight and you need help on how to make this a permanent lifestyle change for you, to actually see like weekly weight loss progress, please go.
This is how I stayed consistent while I was on my weight loss journey. Number one, right at the start, I could not commit to anything. I was a serial yo-yo dieter where I would like go 0 to 100 and then I'd just fall off track. And the number one thing that helped me was getting a PT or getting a coach. And the reason for this is because accountability. I literally just could not account myself to go to the gym like 3 times a week, or could not eat healthy, or could not make progress. But the fact that I had to report to someone every week or twice a week, and they would literally see it in front of their eyes if I had done the work or not. And I had to show up. If I had that PT session book, I had to show up. Otherwise, I'm losing my money. And like, what's the point? So that was probably the main thing that helped keep me accountable, is literally like not having a choice about it. You and your friends can even keep each other accountable by like organizing walks or just checking in with each other if you both have similar goals. This is a little bit unethical, number 2, but I weighed myself every day. Let's be real. Who can say that they've stepped on the scale and been like, whoa, 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 and like they weren't expecting it to be so high? Yep, that was me. And as soon as I stepped on the scale, it was kind of like something switched in my head where I was like, whoa, okay, pull the reins in, girl. And also another thing to note is that the scale is literally going to change every day. Like if you can weigh yourself every day, keep track of it, you will see like the scale go like this. Like it's just like a constant mountainous thing. And I mean, it's hard for women because our body is constantly changing and you can't take the weight every single day, but you kind of get like a rough, you start to learn about your body. But in terms of weighing myself every day, obviously if you like are sensitive about this, I don't recommend this. This is just what I've done. It kind of just kept me like on track so that it was always mentally in my head and something that I had to think about. Obviously the weight isn't everything. It's always also about the non-scale victories. But it more so just kept me in the mindset of like, okay, this is your goal. This is what you want to achieve. And like, we're going to work towards it every day. The third thing, which is probably the most important, is being realistic with yourself and having a realistic plan. I used to do this countless times where I would start off, I would say, all right, I'm going to go to F45 in the morning. I'm going to do a walk in the night. I'm going to eat 1,200 calories. I'm only going to eat this, this, and this. Like, I'm only going to have a protein shake and then I'm only going to eat lettuce. Like, be for real, how long do you reckon I'd last on that? Like a week. And then obviously I'd fall off. And that is purely because it was just not realistic. And it was like, oh, come on. Like, you can see that from a mile away. But I created like a plan in my head, or you can write it out, of the foods I was going to eat and like what I was going to move and exercise in a day. And going into every day or every week, I always had like a rough plan in my head of, okay, I'm going to eat this. I'm going to go for a walk then. I'm going to go to the gym then. And I was pretty realistic about it. Like, I didn't set super unrealistic expectations, like saying I'm going to go to the gym twice a day, 7 days a week. And also, I didn't go from like 0 to 100 real quick. You have to gradually build up to things. Like, it's not like I just started off doing 10,000 steps every day and then I just went to 20 the next day. Because let's be real, you go from like doing no walking to maybe doing a half an hour walk to doing an hour. And then like in a couple months, you're doing like 2-hour walks. I don't know. The main kind of realm of that point was like being realistic with yourself and like thinking, am I actually going to do this? Am I actually going to commit to it? Because at the end of the day, you actually have to do it. And my fourth point is just having a bit of balance. That kind of goes off the being realistic point. But if you have a bit of balance, you're way more likely to be able to stick to it. Say, for example, it's Sunday right now and I haven't exercised all weekend, and I won't. Like, I always usually just give myself the weekend off. Just having that balance to like get my body back. And I kind of am a little bit more rogue with my food choices. Maybe not the best example, but like I just love to have balance in my life. And I know for a fact that if I restricted myself and I made myself exercise on the weekends, like come Monday, I'd be like, oh, I'm tired. Like, I'm going to have a break. And then it's kind of like my week's off to a bad start. The last point I have, number 5, is find something that you love to do. You're not going to be consistent and you're not going to stick to it if you hate what you're doing. For me, I found that I love going to Pilates. Like, I will go to that, I will stick to that, and I know I've scheduled in Pilates, I'm going. But if someone said to me, okay, you need to run 5 times a week, I would be like, absolutely not. I'd probably make it like 2 days, and then I'd be like, no, I hate this, literally naked. So try out a bunch of things, find out what you like. Obviously, you have to get results from something. Like, you can't just get results from sitting on the couch. But as I always say, find what works for you. It's not going to work for everyone, but you might love Zumba. Doesn't mean I'm going to like Zumba. Doesn't mean it's going to work for me, but you might love it. So you go do your Zumba. So that's my main points. I hope that this helped someone on how to stay consistent.
That's a video, besties. I'm just here also to add on like what I think about today's video, how to stay disciplined and consistent during weight loss. Bestie, discipline is what keeps you doing the things you said you would do, even on the days you don't feel like doing it. It's not about being perfect every single day, it's about showing up for yourself no matter what. Consistency is where the magic happens. You can't expect results if you're only giving effort when you're in the mood. Weight loss is built on small daily actions that add up over time, not occasional bursts or effort. The key to discipline is building a routine that fits into your life, not one that feels like punishment. If you create a plan that's too strict, you're going to burn out. Instead, find the health meals you actually enjoy and work out that you can stick with long term. Bestie, don't try to change everything overnight. Small scene changes are easy to stick to and turn into habits. When you make it a habit, you won't need to rely on motivation. It just becomes what you do. And yes, some days will be harder than others, but that's where you remind yourself why you started. Keep your goals in front of you, write them down, save pictures, or track your progress. Seeing how far you come will give you the push to keep going. Basically, consistency comes from making weight loss part of your identity. You have to think of yourself as someone who takes care of their body, eat mindful, and move daily. When that's how you see yourself, you start making choices that align with your vision. You don't try to be healthy. You just have to. Basically, you also have to learn to push through excuses. There will always be reason not to work out or not to meal prep, but those reasons are the same things holding you back. Discipline means doing it anyway, even when it's raining, even when you're tired, and even when you don't feel like doing it. Another secret to staying disciplined is having a plan for the tough moments. There'll be days where your cravings hit harder or when life feels overwhelming. You can't just hope those moments won't come. You have to be ready for them. Keep healthy snacks around you so you don't reach for junky food. Drink water before deciding to eat. And if you mess up, don't throw away the whole day. Get right back on track with your next meal or workout. One sleep doesn't mean you failed, it means you're human. Consistency is not about being perfect, it's about bouncing back quickly every single time. And bestie, surround yourself with the right energy. If everyone around you is consistent, tempting you with unhealthy food or encouraging you to skip workouts, it's going to be harder to stay on track. Find people online or in real life who you share your goals or support your journey. That environment you keep accountable and motivated. Another thing, celebrate your wins, bestie. No matter how small, a lost a pound, clothes fit better, have more energy, those are signs your discipline is paying off. When you focus on progress instead of perfection, you find it much easier to stay consistent. Weight loss is not a quick sprint, it's long game. The ones who win are the ones who keep showing up for themselves every single day. So basically you have to keep fighting for your life. Like this is your life. You need to be hold yourself accountable. Okay? Because if you create a routine for yourself, you're going to know what you're going to be doing in the morning. Are you going to be doing the hot girl walks or in the afternoons, or you're going to be doing in the morning? Also know like what time do you go for work. This is why your routine is going to to be very important, so that you put in the steps if you do the walking, because walking has a very good benefits. Like if you walk, you find you're getting like skinny and all these things. So basically, thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, and I really appreciate for your support, and thank you so much for watching my videos. See you in my next episode. Bye bye for now.